So I was watching Hancock the other day and I realized something. Mary is the absolute worst. I'm telling you. I mean, there were so many instances in this movie where I was like, is she for real? I mean, you could have prevented this entire thing from happening. So let's get into it. So the first time we see Will Smith, aka Hancock, he's drunk out of his mind. His life is a complete mess, and to make matters even worse, his wife is having an affair with somebody much younger than him. Kinda like the real Will Smith.
Keep my wife's name.
So let's just say Hancock has a lot to be upset about. So within the first few minutes of this movie, Hancock helps the police catch some bad guys, but that's not before causing destruction, costing the city about $9 million in damages. And you know what? Do you know who is to blame for this whole thing happening? Mary. But I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so cool. So Hancock goes to a bar, he's drinking once again, and then out of nowhere, these two really attractive women walk in the bar. So they're like, oh, there's Hancock.
Hi.
So one of them goes up to flirt with Hancock. She says something like, I'm so glad I found you, Hancock. I've been looking for you everywhere. And Hancock's like, okay, cool, whatever, let's go to my place. So they go to Hancock's place, which is essentially two trailers stuck together, which is also Mary's fault, and I'll get to that in a second. They end up doing the deed, and in doing so, Hancock nearly unalives this woman with his, emissions, if you know what I'm saying, right? Hancock finishes and nearly puts holes in this woman. So you can tell from the get-go that if Hancock gets intimate with a woman, there is a severe chance that he could unalive them. Right. But do you know who could withstand that kind of pressure and that kind of power? Mary. But I'll get to that in a second. So after this we get to meet Ray, a PR specialist, and that means he's in the business of branding and perception. On the way home, Ray's car gets stuck on some train tracks, he can't get out of the car, and there's an oncoming train on the way. So just before the train is about to hit the car, and at this point Ray is stuck and cannot get out, Hancock flies in at the last second, stops the train with his bare hands causing a lot of damage, and he saves Ray from getting hit by the train. So after he saves Ray, the people are like, why didn't you just move the car out of the way? Why did you have to cause all of that damage? I mean, you could have done something else.
Okay, well, you should sue McDonald's because they fucked you up, all right?
So Ray's like, hey, I'm sorry guys, do you realize that Hancock just saved my life? So y'all. Thank you, Hancock, for saving me. And when he says that, you can look at Hancock's face and tell that he has never heard anybody say thank you to him in a long time. Which is also Mary's fault, but I'll get to that in a second because we're about to meet Mary. So Hancock then flies Ray in his car home, and then he just dumps the car with Ray in it like an Amazon package.
Here's your package.
So obviously Mary's in the house right now, and she probably heard all of the commotion outside, so she walks out like, hey, what's going on out here? And then she's like, oh shit. She looks at Hancock, Hancock looks at her, she looks at Hancock again, and they keep exchanging these weird glances at each other, right? Peter Berg, the director of this movie, is a genius for this scene because there's a lot of subtext supported by foreshadowing and visual storytelling. So as you're watching this scene, you're thinking something is up here. Like, what the hell is going on here?
She wants him so badly.
Because to me, it looks like Mary and Hancock are, you know, making love with their eyes, if you know what I'm saying.
Papa girl in the hatches, I fuck the shit out of me.
There's a lot of chemistry there. So Hancock starts walking away with this weird look on his face like, I feel something there. There's something there. So Ray's like, hey honey, this guy just saved my life. Let's invite him inside for meatballs. And she's like, I don't give a shit. I don't want this guy in my house. Right? I mean, if it wasn't for Hancock, Mary wouldn't have a husband anymore. But she doesn't even want to invite Hancock in for dinner to say thank you. What?
You are one cold-hearted bitch.
Okay. So Ray invites Hancock in for dinner, they have meatballs, and Hancock devours the meal like he hasn't eaten in days. Also like he hasn't seen a knife and fork before because he looks barbaric as he eats this meal. He's eating that meal like a savage, and that is Mary's fault, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hancock starts drinking some whiskey at the dinner table like it's water in front of everybody, and you can clearly tell that this man is an alcoholic. Right? He has problems, and he's probably drinking to numb the pain away. Now, if you've seen the entire movie, you know that Hancock has lost his memory, so he has no idea who he is. But do you know who does know who he is? Mary. And she's sitting right there, watching Hancock drink himself to death, watching Hancock numb the pain that he's had for all these years. And the thing is, Hancock is a superhero at this point, right? So I'm sure Mary has seen Hancock on TV. She has seen all the destruction he has caused all over the city. She knows that Hancock is in extreme pain, but she's like, I know you're suffering and all, but I'm gonna look out for me now, right?
Wow. You're a cold bitch, huh?
She essentially lets Hancock suffer while she lives a lavish life in the suburbs with her husband, who's not even her real husband, because Hancock, we'll get to that in a second. So after dinner, Ray's talking to his wife Mary and he's going, I really want to do something to change his life because he's clearly going through a lot and he has an image problem. So Mary's like, are you sure you want to do that, honey? Are you sure you want to do that? I mean, I know he's in pain and he's self-destructing and everybody hates him, but why would you want to help him? Just let him suffer, honey. Just let him be.
I think you're wasting your time with this guy.
But Ray's like, nah, I can change this man's life, so I'm gonna do something about it. So this moment right here tells you who exactly Mary is. She's extremely selfish. Hancock is dying on the inside. He's clearly in a lot of pain. He has nobody around him who loves him. And Ray's offering to change that. And Mary's like, no, don't do it, honey. He's such a bad person.
Why is she so mean?
And later in the movie, we find out why Hancock lost his memory, and he lost it while trying to save her, right? He was risking his life to save Mary, and Mary won't even do anything to help this guy, and she calls him a bad person. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, cool. So Hancock, the next day or something, flies over to Ray's place. He starts to help Hancock with rebranding, talking about comics and costumes and all of that. And then Mary returns home from Aaron's soccer game. She walks up to her husband and gives her husband a kiss on the cheek while looking at Hancock at the same time. And that look almost says, we're having an affair, so why are you here? Right? So after this, they're all watching the TV, and the news anchor is going off talking about Hancock and how he's such a menace, how he's not above the law, etc. And Mary's standing there looking all proud. Like, yeah, he is trash.
See a selfish, self-absorbed man?
So Ray's then like, okay, look, we can use this to our advantage. Why don't you go to jail? And while you're in there, guess what? Everybody's gonna miss you, and you can pop back up like a new man with a new brand and with a new image. So as Ray says this, Mary's just standing there like, oh no, why is he helping Hancock? But the plan proceeds anyway. Hancock goes to jail, he shoves a man's head up another man's ass. I don't know why, but that scene is funny to me.
Did you shove a man's head up another man's ass?
And while he's in prison, guess who comes to visit him? Mary. She's like, hey Hancock, Aaron really wanted to see you, so that's why we came. And then Hancock looks at her like, really?
Stop lying, please.
But you can clearly tell that she wanted to see him too, right? She says that Ray is a good man, etc., etc.
Ray is a good man.
And then there sure is some deep eye contact. And if I were Ray, I wouldn't want my wife looking at anybody like that. So in a way, she's out here flirting while her husband is at work. But anyway, so while he's in prison, Hancock gets the call from the police chief, and he flies over to stop a bank robbery while wearing his new suit. He has a new image, he's cleaner, and for a change, he's polite.
Good job.
Now as I'm watching this scene, I'm thinking to myself, Mary has superpowers too, right? If she wasn't hiding her powers, think about how many people she could have saved over the years. She could have stopped the bank robbery, right? But instead of helping people with her power, she's like, nah, I'd rather stay at home and bake my croissants.
Just a girl.
And I get it. She does want to lead a normal life, I get it. And if she did try to help people, Hancock would be like, hey, you've got powers too. Like, who are you? I get it. But you know what she could have done? She could have said, look, you and I are soulmates. You lost your memory, blah, blah, blah. And we can't be together because once we come in close contact, there's a chance we're gonna die, right? She could have just said that. She could have just explained things, but no. She chose to leave Hancock in the dark to suffer for 80 years.
She has a big heart.
Anyway, my point is, even though Hancock is an alcoholic, and even though he causes a lot of damage to the infrastructure, at least he's trying to do something to help. whereas Mary's just sitting at home doing nothing. So Hancock stops the bank robbery, chops off the bank robber's hand, he saves a lot of cops, and all of a sudden Hancock now becomes a hero. Everyone loves him. So Mary, Hancock, and Ray go out to dinner to celebrate Hancock's newfound fame, and then Hancock tells a story about how he woke up in a hospital after he tried to stop a mugging. And then while talking he says something like, "How much of a degenerate am I that nobody came to claim me in the hospital? Nobody came."
And nobody was there to claim me.
So Mary starts crying like, "Oh my god." But you know what she could have done? She could have cleared the air right here, because here's another chance for her to say, "Hey, I know who you are. You're actually my husband and someone tried to kill us, but..." Nope, she keeps quiet. Nah, this is where things go left. Hancock, Ray, and Mary go back to Ray's place. Ray is clearly drunk out of his mind, so Hancock takes him up to bed. So when he gets back, guess who's there in the kitchen? Mary. Hancock and Mary then get close. She notices a bruise on his hand, and they then start to kiss while Ray is asleep. Right. Mary's kissing another man while her husband is upstairs passed out. Talk about loyalty. So while they were kissing, Mary then literally throws Hancock out of the house like some garbage, and Hancock lands in a car outside. So Hancock's looking at Mary like, what the hell? What? She has powers too? Then Mary walks out of the house like, "Look, if you tell my husband about this, I'm gonna kill you."
If Ray finds out about me, you're dead.
So now Mary is involving Hancock in her lie to her husband, because her husband has no idea who she is. I mean, there's a moment in the next scene where Mary is struggling to open a pickle jar, I think, and she's like, "Baby, I can't open this, please help me." So Ray's like, "Oh, I got this." Psh. He opens it with ease, and Mary's like, "Oh, you're so strong, baby. Hercules, Hercules." Right?
That's my man.
But before this scene, Ray was like, "What happened out here? Why is there a hole in the wall?" So Mary goes, "Oh no, Hancock sneezed. Hancock sneezed and destroyed our house. Oh no." Right? So now she's lying to her husband even more. So Hancock comes over, he tells Mary that they need to talk, and then Mary drives over to Hancock's trailer looking like a dominatrix. And I'm not complaining, but it was a bit dramatic. That's all I'm saying. So Mary and Hancock get to talking. She lies to Hancock even more. So Hancock goes, "Look, if you don't want to tell me the truth, I'm gonna fly over to Ray and tell him about you." So Hancock flies off. Mary follows him into the city. They start battling in the middle of the road in front of everybody. And then Mary picks up a whole truck like, "Hey," and she smashes the truck over Hancock's head. Right? Let's hope that guy was insured. I mean, remember how she used to say that Hancock is a menace to society, how he's a bad person, but now she's out here causing the same amount of damage. But not only does she do that, she also causes deadly tornadoes in the middle of the city. And luckily nobody died, but in real life, somebody would have died in that moment. So as they're flying through buildings, as they're fighting, they fly through Ray's office building, and that's when Ray discovers his wife has powers too. So then they fly over back to Ray's place to explain everything, and Ray goes, "I saw you. You were flying." And she's like, "Yes, I'm super strong and I can fly. Also, Hancock is my husband. Actually, we're destined to be together."
I'm a really good liar.
And that's when Hancock says, "Look, you chose to make me believe that I was the only one. Why would you do that? I mean, I was alone for 80 years, suffering, in pain. And you could have done something to help me, but you just didn't."
And you chose to let me think I was here alone.
So Mary's like, "Oh, and then she leaves and goes upstairs. She just leaves and goes upstairs. Anyway, after this, Hancock gets shot. He ends up in the hospital, and Mary shows up to talk to him. And that's when she tells the truth. She's like, "Look, you and I, we've been in love for thousands of years. And every time we get together, we get weaker, and somebody tries to take us out." She also says, "Hancock, you saved me so many times throughout our lives together." Right? Imagine risking your life to save somebody so many times, only for them to leave you as an alcoholic for 80 years. I mean, come on. This woman was crazy, I'm sorry.
Call me crazy one more time.
So Hancock nearly gets killed by the one-handed bank robber. Ray saves the day by chopping off the bank robber's other hand. And then Hancock flies away in order to get his powers back. Now after this, Hancock does something generous. In order to pay Ray back for everything he did to transform his image, he paints one of Ray's logos on the moon, right?
Ice cream, baby.
What?
And by doing this, Ray is going to help so many people across the world. But I'm sitting here thinking, why didn't your wife do that for you? Do you know your wife could have done that for you? I don't know, man. Mary was just a piece of work, eh? She was a piece of work. And you know how in Spider-Man Uncle Ben goes, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, in Mary's case, she's going, I don't care about my responsibilities, okay? I'm just gonna stay home and bake my croissants. Anyway, I'm stopping there. Did you guys like Mary's character, yes or no? Let me know down below. And I'll see you in the next video.